Haynes side of our family, which is where we got to spend most of our Christmases, each and every Christmas Eve, that was kind of our time to get together. And then on Christmas Day, we'd kind of go to the other side of our family. Every Christmas Eve, my grandmother, she did this for even much longer than before I came along. We would eat every Christmas Eve spaghetti with mashed potatoes. And if that sounds gross, it's because it is. And yet, it was one of the fondest memories I have. There were definitely gross things that took place. I've got an uncle that used to create like a bowl of mashed potatoes and then put all of his stuff on top of it, which was nasty. But the fun things were all of us grandkids every now and then helping Granny actually make the meal. That meal came out of their poverty. And so it kind of became a staple because it was a legacy for that meal. Later on, when my grandmother got to come to Texas and have Christmas Eve with us here, we did spaghetti with mashed potatoes, and my kids loved it. So anyways, that is my childhood or my fondest Christmas memory.
So my favorite Christmas memory, I think I was about 7 or 8, and we didn't have much money growing up. So every year, like many people, my parents gave us the talk about how don't expect too much. We didn't make very much money this year, just kind of preparing us, hopefully not to get our hopes bashed, but, we always had that conversation. And I remember we had that conversation again this year. And then we woke up that Christmas morning and my parents had gone all out. I think my dad had gotten a promotion or something. And I walked in and my parents did Santa Claus. So they set out presents, and the big present was the one for Santa Claus. And it was always the cool thing, right? And there was this army tent pitched in our living room. And it was full of really cool stuff, like little plastic guns and like army helmets. And I think I slept in that tent for like 8 weeks straight after that. But it was a really cool memory for me because in the midst of like just, they give you that conversation and you're just praying, oh, please, maybe Santa is real. And then we get socks, But that morning was really special to me. And it just really made us, me and my sisters, we still talk about that Christmas as just like, it was magical for us. And it was really cool to be a kid that age and to like be surprised by really how much your parents love you. And it was a neat time.
My favorite Christmas memory happens to be a really recent one. It's been about 3 years ago, and it was actually in this sanctuary on Christmas Eve. My entire family was here, my brother and sister-in-law who don't attend a church, my son and daughter-in-law, my brand new grandbaby Charlie, Tabitha and her husband Nolan, Clayton, and Jerry and I. And it was just such a peaceful memory being here and lighting our candles and singing and just having them all present and knowing that we were all together. Christmas Eve is one of my favorite times of the year.
So one of my very favorite Christmas memories, and I'm going to date myself just a little bit here without the help of Josh, but if you were a kid growing up in the 80s, you will remember in 1982, the gift to receive that year was the Cabbage Patch doll. And there was a craze. People were fighting over them. You couldn't find them in stores. People were trying to hunt them down. And of course, that's what I wanted for Christmas that year, was a Cabbage Patch doll. And so I pretty much convinced myself it wasn't going to happen because they were so hard to get a hold of. My birthday is the week before Christmas, so it kind of came and went and I didn't get it. But on Christmas morning, I walk into our living room and Santa left our gifts from him unwrapped. And so there she was, my Cabbage Patch doll. And I just squealed and was so excited and ran to her and grabbed her. And then like every other girl in the 80s that gets her doll for Christmas, you pull her diaper down and look on the bottom, and there it said Xavier Roberts. That means it was a legit Cabbage Patch doll.
My favorite Christmas memory I was in 4th or 5th grade at this point, and I was rocking the bowl cut. It was good. It was a good time for Brady. But what was very special about that Christmas was I got my first ever pair of Vans. It was a momentous day because that would go on to influence the rest of my life of Vans wearing. So, Matt! Is that good enough? Can you cut it?
My favorite Christmas memory happened back when I was probably in the 2nd or 3rd grade. My dad had just been appointed to 2 churches in East Texas, and it was one of his first churches in his preaching career. We had scheduled a Christmas Eve service, a candlelight service, at a church that didn't schedule this before, had never had this service at their church. And so we show up as a family to run this service, and we're waiting, and we're waiting, and we're waiting some more, and nobody came. And whether it was an issue with timing or just a tradition that they weren't familiar with, nobody came to the service. And so our family decided to go through the service together. And we sang hymns as best we could without any accompaniment. We went through the candle lighting, including the lighting of the Christ candle, together as a family. And that will always be one of my warmest memories of Christmas.
Raintree family, as we consider this Advent season, as we consider all of the beauty of what takes place during this time of the year, the anticipation of Jesus, we look back, but we also look forward. That word Advent, and we've talked about this the last couple of weeks on Sundays, that word Advent is Latin for arrival. And the beauty of the way that word is used in the Christian tradition is that the word was originally used to discuss the arrival of a Caesar or the emperor coming to town. Christians co-opted and repurposed that word to discuss the perfect Christ who would come and bring about his blessings to the world. Hope, peace, joy, and love, that all of those things would get a new definition based upon the perfection of Jesus being immediately present to the world, at work for its greatest good, and bringing about perfect redemption. And so this Christmas, we encourage you to look back, because that's where hope began, with Jesus, with God coming in the form of a baby. But we truly encourage you to look forward, because there is a day when we will receive Jesus again. And the perfection of all things that have been hoped for, we'll get to see them with our own eyes. We'll get to experience them, and we'll get to live in them forever. Merry Christmas.
So as I consider where I've seen hope in this season, or how I'm experiencing that right now, I can't help but think about my kids and how long it took April and I to actually have kids. And it was difficult, but we often experience times of hope throughout that, and despair too. But I think just anticipating what God was going to do and to see that come into fulfillment in our lives was it's hard for me not to just consider that when I think about the word hope and how that is manifesting in my life.
For everything that Jerry and I have been through growing up and the way we grew up, I find my peace in that my children all attend church. They all have faith. They all serve and want to further the kingdom of God. And that just gives me a tremendous amount of peace, knowing that God has always been with us. He's always pursued us, and he's always left us with his peace.
My word for the Advent season is joy. And I think about how many times in the Bible where Jesus specifically references children, and he says, to enter the kingdom of God, you must be like the little children. And Christmas, you get to see joy in children pretty consistently. So the way that I'm experiencing joy this year in particular is just to be surrounded by lots of little ones. I have my nephew Elijah and Ethan. I'm helping Savannah nanny a little baby, Andy, who lives in our neighborhood, and just to literally be with them and see their wonder and their joy just by lights on the Christmas tree, how special that is for a little one who is seeing that for the first time. The anticipation of Christmas morning in a children's face just completely brings that joy back to me. And so I hope that every one of you families experience that kind of joy and that you have the merriest of Christmases.
So my word for Advent is love. And when I consider love, I think about how vulnerable love is. And almost by necessity, it has to be. And so for God to come to earth as a child, one of the most vulnerable things, it is a true example of love. And as I was thinking about that, I came on to staff at Raintree at a very interesting time. As soon as I came on staff, we were already in the pandemic and we were doing most of our things online. And so I was introduced to our teens and our families through Zoom, which can be really awkward and funny. And so I was shown so much love in a particularly vulnerable state of mine, of the families and the teens who loved me even through some awkwardness and through trying times. And so I'm saying as much thank you to y'all as I am talking about love, because y'all have shown me what it means to be vulnerable. And I thank y'all for that. And I hope that y'all have an incredible Christmas.
So as we wrap up, we discuss the Christ candle. Christ and the Messiah, the coming of the Messiah, was expected. It was hoped for. As Josh was saying, they were hoping for the arrival of this Messiah. But the way that Christ came was unexpected, in the form of a child, with the fullness of God dwelling in him. So my challenge to you this Christmas is to look for those unexpected moments. Look for those times where God is moving in your life and in the lives of others in unexpected ways. And look for how you can serve others in unexpected ways this Christmas season. We love you guys.